So yesterday, there were some really interesting moments during Donald Trump's coronavirus press briefing. One of them was when, within minutes, Donald Trump went from saying, "I'm withholding money from the WHO," to denying that he ever said that. We already looked at that. I mostly have not been playing clips from these press briefings each day because if I did, the entire show would be clips from the press briefings, which have essentially replaced Donald Trump's political rallies in the era of coronavirus as a way for him to get out his propaganda. And he probably, to some degree, kind of like gets off from doing these press briefings, would be my guess. But yesterday, there were a couple of things that I really want to highlight because they go beyond the coronavirus story alone, and they bleed over into some other important issues, one being the November of 2020 election and how to do it safely, and the idea of voting by mail. Now, Nancy Pelosi has already said we should vote by mail in 2020. I played that clip for you last week. Coronavirus makes it dangerous for people to mass gather at polling places, although we are expecting a decline starting very soon that will go through July, August. We're not exactly sure until when. In November, we will likely be in the second wave of coronavirus cases. But Donald Trump has been very critical of voting by mail. Why? Well, we know why. He admitted it, because it would help Democrats win. And you don't have to take my word for it. Here is Trump himself saying that exact thing just last week.
I will tell you this. If you look at before and after, the things they had in there were crazy. They had things, levels of voting that if you ever agreed to it, you'd never have a Republican elected in this country again. They had things in there about, election days and what you do and all sorts of clawbacks. And they had things that were just totally crazy and had nothing to do with workers that lost their jobs.
All right. So we know Trump knows voting by mail would be bad for Republicans. It would be bad for him. So yesterday during the coronavirus press briefing, he again went on about how vote by mail is bad, vote by mail is corrupt, vote by mail is fraudulent. But a reporter accurately pointed out that, and this was being carried live on Fox News and on other networks, mind you, a reporter points out, wait a second, Mr. President, you voted by mail in Florida just a few days ago. If it's so bad and corrupt, why is it that you're doing it? And Trump says the quiet part out loud, admitting, well, it's okay for me to do it. It's just not okay for other people to do it. Take a look at this video.
So you were highly critical of mail-in voting, mail-in ballots for voting.
I think mail-in voting is
but
horrible.
You voted by
It's
mail
corrupt.
in Florida's election last month, didn't you?
Sure, I could vote by mail for that.
How do you reconcile
Because I'm
that?
allowed to. Well, that's called out of state. You know why I voted? Because I happen to be in the White House and I won't be able to go to Florida to vote.
What's the difference between mailing within
well, there's a
state or
big
mailing
difference
outside the
between
state?
somebody that's out of state and does a ballot and everything sealed, certified, and everything else. You see what you have to do with the certifications. And you get thousands and thousands of people sitting in somebody's living room signing ballots.
Mail-in voting is horrible and corrupt, but I'm allowed to do it. Trump clearly imploding here and tries to wildly suggest, well, I'm doing it from out of state and all of these other people are talking about doing it in state. All else being equal, though, isn't it safer to do in-state vote by mail because the ballots have to travel a smaller distance, a shorter distance? Doesn't that, it's not really a big difference, but it seems that if anything, vote by mail within the state is less risky than what Donald Trump is doing. It's absolutely and completely incoherent. And I'm actually surprised Fox News didn't cut away from this altogether. Mail-in ballots are good and convenient for Trump, but they're bad for everybody else. Now, if we had a reasonable president, if we had a real president at all, I think maybe is more accurate, the president would realize we have a pandemic and a top priority is we need a safe option for voting. It should be transparent. Vote by mail is not corrupt. Let's start now, or really weeks ago, setting up vote by mail in every state for everybody for November. But Donald Trump has already admitted vote by mail would be bad for him. It would be bad for Republicans. And he's right about that. Why? Democrats are more likely to believe the science on coronavirus. Republicans are more likely to believe Donald Trump's propaganda. Democrats are more likely to heed warnings about social distancing. So if November comes around and we're in wave 2 of the virus and things are dicey, there is no doubt that Democrats are more likely to stay home than Republicans. If everyone has a safe, convenient, secure way to vote from home, Trump realizes accurately it's not good for him. That's why we have what we have today, which is Trump calling vote by mail dangerous and corrupt. But of course, he's doing it. And the only way in which voting by mail is dangerous is that it makes it more likely Trump is removed in the fall, which we desperately need, and Trump is increasingly desperate to prevent. Very, very difficult stuff that we are dealing with. And these are some of the side stories, which aren't even really side stories, that really deserve a lot of attention. We'll have more on this and today's other stories on the David Pakman Show Instagram page at David Pakman Show. Do me a favor, while you're there, follow me on Instagram at david.pakman. You may not have heard, I am now the poster boy for a hair product. You'll know what I mean if you check out my Instagram at david.pakman. Quick break, back after this. There's a YouTube channel we're partnering with that I would love for you to check out. It's a channel called Upflip. You can get there by clicking the link below. Make sure you subscribe when you're there. Every week, Upflip uploads a new video where you get an exclusive behind-the-scenes look at a different small business, everything from real estate firms, coffee shops, auto repair shops. Each business owner shares a ton of really interesting insight about how they built their business, what it's like day to day, how they got to where they are. Fascinating to learn about other people's business strategies, how they found success. It's a great channel for anyone thinking of starting a business, already running one, or just people interested in how different business work. Perfect for people who like TV shows like Shark Tank and that type of thing. Check it out at davidpakman.com/upflip. The link is underneath the video. They are friends of the David Pakman Show. Make sure to subscribe when you're there. Click that bell icon to be notified when they upload new videos.